Mary Bridey runs with sobriety. I remember you telling me that on our first call.
Very good.
So tell us about who you are, what you do, where you're from, everything. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so I am probably your typical Irish Catholic girl that grew up in Maryland, one of six kids. I had two older brothers, three younger sisters, and education was big. And so now I'm a teacher. Part of that was, my mom and dad, they both moved down from Youngstown, Ohio, which is like Midwest. And so I have those Midwest values too. My dad was like the smarty of the family who got to move down and go to Georgetown Law School. He was a physics master's and he was going to combine the two and be like a patent lawyer, but then he was working at NASA during the day, and that was in the early 60s. And so that became his day job, became his profession, and he loved it. So I was one of many. And then my story with Narit and Sarah began after my parents taking care of them. My two brothers had moved away, they're both doctors. So I was the oldest girl and taking care of them. But I did have help by two local sisters and then another sister that lived out in California, all very supportive. My mom had Alzheimer's. She didn't tell anybody for a while she had Alzheimer's, so my dad was dealing with it. Right before 2020 COVID, she fell and broke her neck, and so she had to go into rehab. And then my dad moved into in Northern Virginia, which is where me and my two sisters are. So she passed away of COVID in April of 2020, and then my dad was with us. He had gotten Parkinson's and cognitive dysfunction, which, as you can imagine, for a NASA physicist who was very smart and well spoken, was very difficult for him. But he passed away July 1st of 2022, and it's weird to think because like I was still going through it in 2024 when I decided to join. My mental health was probably not at its best. I thank God that I was a high school teacher because those teenagers kept me active and distracted. But and then I had noticed, as Narit put in her blurb for this introduction, that I had gained weight, and I kind of was shocked because I always grew up skinny and weight wasn't an issue. And I thought the scale was broken. I was like, it must be I haven't taken the time to calibrate it. Anyway, I was up 20 pounds. And then just I'm a problem solver type of person, thought, oh, I'll just fix this, I'll just find the quick fix. And people had said, oh, there's this new soda poppy that's like got this probiotics in it. It's going to be the best next thing. And dill pickles. And I was like, basically, I love both of those things, but that was pretty much my solution. And my daughter was getting married. And I thought, well, here's something I can focus on positive. I saw the post, Denise, who you guys know from the group, probably, she's a great poster. And I had followed her because I was in education. She was in education. She always had the best posts. And I saw her do her 100 workout badge and she put it on there. And I thought, well, I hadn't kept up with Denise, or did I know her that well? But I was like, I can trust Denise that this is a great program. And then I had the interview with Narit, and she was talking about 700, 800 people. And I was like, oh, that's good. It's not like I'm one of thousands. You know what I mean? Like I felt this is a group that's the perfect size.
First of all, thank you for sharing your story. I think like what's really important for people to hear is real people with real lives and real stories, sharing like what was going on with yourself, like right before, like what was going on with your health. Like you didn't realize kind of what was going on. And this can happen to anyone, right? You're taking care of other people. So, and then suddenly you're like, what's going on? I would love for you to share with us what are your biggest wins since you started our program?
Probably the biggest win is realizing I needed it. That was huge. Really, though, taking a step back and realizing that other big thing in our lives about education and how that's so important, and relying on experts to, help us, and that's okay. And like my dad did in his final stages, was to realize it was better for him. My mom always refused help, and he saw that that was difficult for us. And so, a very proud person that kind of let us help take care of him was much more heartwarming for us and stuff. So, I kind of needed to do that same thing. So, I think the biggest one is realizing I needed it. And then I thought, and I don't know if Narit remembers this, but I was like, oh, they're just trying to get my money. I'm going to figure out some economical way to do this, and I'll just get on and do it and learn it, and then I'll be good. And then I didn't realize again that it's not just like a quick fix, and that, a program, a lifestyle is more than just, get to know it and check out. We've got to stay checked in. And I think I also didn't want to, I'm a very intellectual person and I might be a little reserved at times to share my feelings or whatever. So I didn't necessarily count on the community helping as much as it did. And just hearing, even if I'm not sharing, seeing what other people are sharing is really, really significantly helped. And I connect with that too, much more than just reading through things.
I love that because we there's a lot of really like a lot of us are like really proud people. I can relate to that as well. You know, like we're so proud. Um, and one of the things that so many of us will say is like, I'm so glad I wish I had started sooner.
I didn't want this to be a focus. I just thought I'd fix it because I just come into it. But what I had to also realize, like turning 60, my metabolism was changing and COVID and all that stuff. I wasn't recognizing that I was in a life change. Not just my personal thing, but just how the body is, and that the metabolism and I try to spread the word verbally to people, maybe not necessarily on social media, but I tell them all the time it's not that hard, but I think it's the thing that you maybe says simple is not easy. And also I think some people say, oh, I don't want to track things. And I'm like, I'm a data person, I'm a computer science teacher, and I love to track. And I'm like, it's a feeling of accomplishment. So that has definitely helped me in this program, the multi-pronged, the community and the tracking and the advice, videos that you do or talks that you do with different people, like picking up like something as simple as I think one or two times ago, you can eat anything, just not everything. So I love those nuances and those distinctions. So that's definitely helped me with this program, the whole multi-pronged, like you'll get us one way or the other.
Yeah, yeah, we are. I love like the balanced approach.
Yeah.
So before you started, any doubts kind of creep in, and I love when people share their fears or
Yeah.
doubts.
Again, the community aspect. So I've always been like organically, I don't want to force friendships here. I was like, well, how am I going to organically get to know these people? Which there's some safety in that we're sharing very personal things. And maybe that's okay to do with people you don't know super well. But I think I was skeptical. And like I said, even though it may not seem like it, I do gain a lot from all the tip. People maybe I don't know super well day to day, but I feel like I can trust them. And like I said, Denise was a big, because I knew I could trust her. So.
What changed from your mindset perspective while like just being in this program?
I think I thought it was going to be a quick fix, like, oh, boom, I'll fix that 20-pound thing and then I'm done, and then I go back to real life. And like I said, I think realizing that it is really a new way to live and it's a better way to live. Like, yeah, it's not like nothing. You have to put something into it. Like my sister was like, oh, you're putting in the work. You should feel good. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to think of it as work, but yeah, I guess it is. Like I should be proud of that, because like I said, I always kind of like to, I do this with students, I kind of like to act like, oh, it's not a big deal. You can do it. It's attainable, which it is, but it is work. But it's a better way to live. It's a better way. The half an hour movement every day, like I now look forward to like having that time to just go out and think and walk. And yeah, the benefits of being able, I think I've mentioned this a couple of times in my notes, but like my school is on a hill. They always talk about the school on the hill, Bishop Ireton in Alexandria, and people would fear the hill. And now I'm like, no problem. Drop me off in the lower lot. I'll go up to my car. And same thing with the stairs. I on the third floor, which is like, students come up and they're huffing and puffing. And the first however many years I was huffing and puffing. And now I'm fine with it. I do not go up the elevator like 9 out of 10 times. So that's kind of changed me.
I love what you just shared because I always say anything that's worth it is work. Like a degree is work, a career, like at trade school, kids, marriage, anything that's worth it is like it's called an accomplishment for a
For a
reason. It's
reason.
like a
Yeah.
huge accomplishment, right? When you look at the entire program, I'd love for you to share with our audience what is your favorite part of the program? Like, how is it like? What do you love about it?
Um, I mean, maybe this is a little bit about what I said, but just like I think it's like Goldilocks just right. Because it's intellectual, but not overly intellectual. It's community, but it's not everybody in your face every day. It's what you need. And I think, you've said this a lot, but it can't be said enough, progress over perfection. And that's something as a teacher, same thing. Like this hits me, like I know that's how I am with my students. So I'm big, I think, on that of just like not ever giving up or not thinking anything's too hard. And I think there's a saying too, my mom would always say, moderation in everything, including moderation. So
Yes, I love that.
the whole balance thing is great. It's like you recognize that life is not always the same thing every day. And so that's great. That's a big part of like me being able to, again, have that grace and not feel like I'm, not achieving constantly, but it's still okay.
like when I think about it, it's like lifestyle, really, like,
Right.
just how you would want your children or, people to just live healthfully, right? And just feel good about themselves. Um, so Mary, what would you say to someone, like yourself, right? Because you were following Denise, I guess, for a while, following us for a while, thinking about the program, but like hasn't pulled the trigger yet.
Um, I guess I would say just try it. And like me, you'll think, oh, I'll get in and get out. And then, hey, if you do, you've learned. And if you don't, you have a better life.